Hello and welcome. I'm Jenny. Thanks for joining me today. This is a live video on my Facebook business page, and I'm going to share a project that we're going to create together. And I have got some brand new products in from Stampin' Up today, and I am going to share those with you. So first of all, in the box, whenever you get your order in, if you're a demonstrator, during the pre-order season, that is during the month of May, you get a catalog. And this is a wonderful time to become a demonstrator so that you can get these things in your starter kit. If you have a demonstrator, then contact them about becoming a demonstrator and you can get the discount, you can get all these wonderful perks from Stampin' Up. It's a great time to join. So this beautiful catalog is chock full of wonderful things. So let's get started on looking at some new goodies. The first thing that I want to share with you is I've gotten a pack of the new stamp pads. This is a pack of 16 stamp pads that are in the new colors and completely unopened. So I'll open that now. And it comes shrink wrapped, as you can see. It has its own identification number. That makes it easy to not have to pull out all of the item numbers for all of these beautiful stamp pads. Hey, Joanne. So I'm going to take them all apart and we'll have a look at the new colors. I see some gorgeous stuff peeking out. This was probably one of the things I was the most excited about. So we have some returning colors that have previously been in the Stampin' Up family, plus we have some brand new colors. Balmy Blue is a new color, and I'm really excited about it. Balmy Blue is replacing Soft Sky, as far as my opinion goes. I was pretty addicted to Soft Sky, but I think I can deal with Balmy Blue. Blackberry Bliss is a new color that's returning. It was an in color. Flirty Flamingo as well, and then here is the much desired Coastal Cabana. That's a really pretty color. Imagine what Coastal Cabana is going to look like whenever it is ink smushed.
Can I go upstairs?
I'm sure you guys hear Nate. Hi, Kay. Nate is deciding that he wants to come in here. Nate, I'll talk to you later. Okay? So here's Petal Pink. Petal Pink is going to be one of those gorgeous neutral tones. It has a little bit of earthy undertones that I can see. Poppy Parade, that's another beautiful alternative red. Soft Seafoam and Shaded Spruce are both really pretty greens, and seeing them here together, they match pretty well. Let's dive into the purples. So here are the two purples, Gorgeous Grape and Highland Heather. And these two purples are really similar in color hue. Of course, the Highland Heather is, definitely a shade lighter, and we'll have to do some experimenting with these colors to see if we can really tell the difference between them on paper, because paper makes all the difference. Gray Granite, I'm really excited about this one. Pardon me. And Granny Apple Green. Let's have a look at Granny Apple Green. This is exciting. I'm so happy to have these actually in my hand to be able to stamp with. Looking at them in the catalog is one thing, but having them at hand is totally another. So Mango Melody, Mary Merlot, Mint Macaron, and Mossy Meadow. Now these two are returning colors. They were previous in colors. And these all have the new stamp pad configuration. So you'll have to keep in mind whenever you open your new stamp pads, brand new, fresh, plastic wrapped stamp pads, that keep in mind they are going to need a little bit of working in order to get them open and closed really easily. So that's something to keep in mind. So the next item in my box, and this is by no means a very large box that I opened, but I have this wonderful Simply Chamois. So the Simply Chamois is going to be a stamp cleaner. And we're going to open it up. I can reposition all those stamp pads without dropping them. And I can tell that it's a little bit moist inside of my package here. So we're going to use this chamois today. Now it's completely sealed, I can see. And just like on some prepared food packaging, there's a little notch cut in onto the side. And you just open this up, and there you go. So it moves around really nicely. It's a nice thick pad here. It has a little bit of a smell to it, not anything terrible. And this is an empty clear mount stamp case or for photopolymer. And have a look at how it fits perfectly inside this stamp case. You could close it up and it's sealed up perfectly inside the stamp case. Now I can see making sure that this is got some ventilation to it when it's stored. And the reason that I say that, and by no means am I an expert because I've just gotten this in, but I am excited to use it too, Joanne. I can say from personal experience from using a microfiber cloth. Now this is a cloth that I'd gotten from the dollar store, and I would wet it with just a little bit of bottled water or some tap water, and then I would wipe down my stamps like this and then let the stamp air dry. Now I can tell you that if this cloth is locked up inside of any kind of receptacle, it's going to mildew and get that, that stinky smell. It's a little bit dirty to me. It's not sanitary. So what I do each day, if I use this cloth, is I unfold it like so, and I make sure that it can dry ventilated. And then the next time that I go to use it, I just simply wet it again. No worries at all. So what my concern is with the chamois is that I want to make sure that this chamois is not going to get mildewed, because I can throw this in the wash machine. I'm not so sure about this. And I can feel that it is damp right now. However, it's not mildewed. So that's one thing to think about. I'm not really sure how this is going to, how much you wet it. I'm not sure how it's going to handle it. So keep an eye out. I think this is something that's a hot item that we're all going to want to be using. Just make sure that you handle it with care. That way you can get it to last a little bit longer. But we will use it today. In fact, I'll give it a little bit of water. I don't want to drench it. And I'm going to squeeze it around just a bit. So this will be ready. Now, when I'm working with it, I can see keeping it closed up in here. So we'll check this out just a little bit later. So the next thing that I had...
Mommy?
Can you come back later, Nate?
No.
Nate.
Can you go upstairs?
Okay. The next thing that I would like to show you is the embossing pads. And after the embossing pads, then we'll get started on a project. But it's always fun to play with something new, but sometimes when we have a new product that is really innovative, it's hard to know exactly how to use it. And that's the case with these embossing mats. So one thing, hi Anne-Marie, thanks for stopping in. One thing that is interesting is that we can just take the mystery right out of this and decide if this is something we're going to use. Every new tool is not a tool that we all have to possess, although some of us do have the gotta have it all syndrome, and I am one of those people that, you know, I would like to try it out and see if it works well for me. But this is definitely something that has a large amount of mystery around it because you don't know how to use it. So I have used it. This is the one thing that I opened before I started the video. And so I will show you exactly what it looks like to do the embossing and how to layer up your sandwich on it. So I'm hoping that this will really help those that are not sure about this or don't know how to use it. So it comes with 3 different pieces plus the instructions. And my suggestion is to save these instructions because inside there is some written instructions here. We've got 4 different languages, but it'll tell you, there's a little key map here, a legend, on how you need to handle certain ways to use it. And then once you flip the paper down, it tells you the 3 different ways that you can use it. Well, I'm not really sure what these numbers mean, what these pad colors are, until I refer back to this legend. So that's what I did in discovering how to layer up the sandwich. So I did the emboss only sandwich. So what I did was I started from the bottom, and it says number 7. So I went over to number 7 and it says, oh, I need English. It says Big Shot Platform. And then I figured the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And so that's what this looks like right here. So we're going to have a look at the emboss only sandwich and what the embossing looks like. I grabbed one of my most loved Thinlet sets, which is the Birds and Blooms. You guys know that I am a sucker for birds. That's my thing. So what it starts off with is the Big Shot platform. And this is the newer platform. This is the one that comes with the Big Shot standard now and has the thin die adapter that looks like this. And it normally is used just like this on a regular basis for normal die cutting. So that has to come off. The thin die adapter comes off. And the next thing is a clear cutting plate. So the clear plate needs to be one that is not completely warped. And believe me, I could show you a warped plate. I'm sure we all have those. When they get to a certain point, then they need to be replaced, and we get these beautiful, flat, clear, sparkly plates that we don't want to do any die cutting on, but we must because we have to die cut. So we've got the Big Shot platform and one clear plate. This one is a little bit bowed, but not by much. So the next item that you layer up is your Thinlits die, and you put it with the cut side up. And it states that very clearly in the instructions. The next thing that we add is the paper, okay? And so you will position it. And if you need the die on a certain part of the paper, then maybe secure it with a piece of washi tape. The next item is the blue mat. The blue mat is referred to as, let's see what we can call it, the thin silicone rubber mat. So this key here has the white, the gray, and the blue mats color coded. And then the next thing is just this white mat. This is the other embossing mat that comes with the set. So when you open your package, you have the blue floppy mat, the white hard firm mat, and then this gray kind of wobbly. So we have small, medium, and large is what I'm calling them. All right, so for our emboss only sandwich, then we're going to use this on the very top. Now I ran this through the Big Shot 3 times just to make sure, because it was my first time using it. However, I suggest you go one pass, and then check it. And if it didn't make a good enough impression, then put it one more pass. Don't do 3 passes like I did, because it just puts a little bit too much pressure on your die and your paper. So now let's have a look at what the result is. And it wasn't too hard for me to figure out what this layering technique is. I just have to get used to it, and I have to read on this pamphlet. You have to look at it and follow the directions, use the key, and then figure out which one of these methods you want to use. I will probably make myself a little cheat sheet and just write down what the pads are myself instead of referring back to this picture. Okay, so this is what it turned out looking like. There are a couple of places where I think that 3rd pass did me in, but can you see how that bird is in the paper, but it's not cut through the paper? It almost looks like it's almost die cut and then popped back in place. But I can see taking this technique of embossing up to so many different levels, because you could take and get all of these beautiful little details and then bring your scissors over and fussy cut this. And so instead of a bird with all the pieces cut away, we have a bird that just has all these pieces recessed. And so imagine a piece of watercolor paper that has all these beautiful indentations to these valleys and mountains to hold all of the watercolor, the fluid. I think it's going to have a lot of possibilities. So if you can't see this very well, yes, son? Yes, son? You are upstairs.
No.
So that's Nate, and he really wants to come in. So to get all of these impressions to really show up on camera, which I can see them perfectly well, but on camera, I'm worried that you can't see them too well. I am going to use a blue. So here's Marina Mist, and whoops, and I'm going to add the color just so that we can see what those impressions look like really well on camera. Okay, and this is just a scratch pad. So very, very, very lightly. I'm adding the color here. And now I think it's probably more apparent what you can see. If you can see this, all of the little details on the bird are really starting to show up. Hi, Marcy. Thanks for stopping in. On the back side, it looks like it went through maybe at 2 places, which I think that was the 3rd pass that did that. But this is basically, I'll see if I can get a better close-up. This is basically what the embossing looks like. And it's not going to show up on camera for anyone, I don't imagine. It's something that is going to, maybe darker cardstock will look better. But if you can see those shadows, then it's really pretty. And so if I fussy cut this bird, I could just put this bird straight on a card and have a totally different look with some products that I already have on hand. So how cool is that? Who's excited about using these new embossing pads? Besides me. Who's so excited about them? So I'm actually filming today from my new studio. This is a new table, and I can see, I'm barely pushing it. It's a bit wobbly. I'm going to have to stabilize the legs a little bit. And the acoustics are probably different. This room echoes more significantly than my last craft area. My husband and I were sharing a craft area, and now I have my own dedicated studio, which is something that I'm very thankful for. So I'm getting a lot of new furniture in order to accommodate that, and this little table here is just strictly for videos, and it's a little wobbly because my home is a very old home, and the floors are not, the wood floors over the last 150 years have shifted a little bit. So, embossing pads, cool stuff, right? I'm excited. Let's move on to making a project now, as promised. So I've gotten some cards on my blog and my YouTube channel this week with the Lilypad Lake stamp set. Well, we'll call it the Lilypad Lake Bundle. And the card that I had today is a card that is made with the sponge brayer. Did you guys have a look at it? I hope you did. I'm going to relocate some of those things there. And this is the card that I created that's on my blog and my YouTube channel today. And this is one from earlier this week. So I have a couple of different samples that I've done videos. They're available on my YouTube channel. I've got the videos and some blog posts about these. And as you can see, this is Lilypad Lake as complete opposites. They are about as different from each other as could possibly be, but carry a lot of the same themes. Thanks, Anne-Marie. I'm glad that you like it. This one was just as much fun to create as this one was. Of course, whenever I'm able to add a technique, it gets a little bit more fun. So be sure to check out my YouTube channel on exactly how I created this card right here. And it is on glossy white paper. So we're going to make another card with Lilypad Lake. Each week that I've done a live video, I have been promoting a different new product bundle, and this one is for this week, and I can't say enough good stuff about Lilypad Lake. And what I'm trying to do is to show the versatility of this stamp and die set in different ways. So in this card, I just featured the die cuts, and there's no stamping on the actual die cuts. It's just straight die cuts on black paper. And the stamping is done in the background here and on the sentiment. As a reverse, this card is all stamping and die cuts. So you can see that these images work really well in a couple of different ways. So we're going to use a few of the other dies and stamps in this project. So if you're just stopping in, please be sure to say hello so that I can say hello back to you. And if you have any questions as we go, then feel free to pop the questions in a comment. If you're watching this after it's finished, no worries. We can answer the questions after the fact. So Lakeside Framelits has this really pretty, I'm going to call it water image. Looks like water. And I've got that sticky tape that comes off of the paper is stuck to my die. But this is a really hefty die. It has a very nice amount of weight to it. Get that little sticky stuff off. And it emulates, but it doesn't copy this stamp right here. So let's take a look at that stamp. So these stamps are not the same. This one has much more thin lines and it's wider, and this is designed to stamp the waves onto a piece of paper. So in reverse, this die is meant to cut the waves away from the paper. So we have on the paper and out of the paper. So we're going to see what the possibilities can be whenever we use this die to cut out the paper and see how it goes. So I'm going to use some,
Mommy!
oh, it looks like the kids are really trying to get me today. I apologize for that. So I'm going to use some designer series paper behind this die to let some of the colors show through and see what kind of looks we can achieve. And we'll try out a couple of different papers. And of course, you know, they're two-sided, so we can try out either side. This one would be really fun too. This is from the Eastern Palace Designer Series paper. And I thought all of the little dots were really fun. Trip, I'm making a video right now, okay? So I want you to yeah, go ask Dad and he'll help you, okay? Thank you. Thank you for following directions. Sorry for that. And now these two pieces are from Tranquil Textures. And that's some of the new designer series paper that is coming out in the new catalog. And I'm really excited. I want to use this piece today in my project, and so I've coordinated some colors to go with this. But I brought these others out just so that we can like take a test drive and check out what it's gonna look like. So I have a piece of white cardstock here, and we'll do some stamping first. So the images that I'm going to stamp are going to be die cut from the, it could be a sun or a moon, and the little sailboats, and then the sentiment. So I've got all of these stamps already mounted just to save some time, and we're going to stamp in black. But these images are very kind of like artistically drawn, and then the sentiments also are artistically drawn. So one word of to note, whenever you are stamping out all of your images, if they don't seem to stamp out perfectly, then don't worry, because that's the way they're drawn, and that's okay. Nothing in life is perfect. Although we do strive, especially as crafters. So I'm using Memento Tuxedo black ink today, and I'm going to stamp the image of the sailboats. So it kind of has, you know, the lines are not like uniform. They're definitely has a different look to it. And let's do this one. This one has more, it's not a perfect circle. That's one of the things I really like about the stamp set. So I have used some of these images before, and on my other projects, but I thought this would be good because I haven't made a card yet about that has this design. So we've got these images, and once they're die cut, then I use this one for the little boat. And it's not evident from here, but if you notice, these pieces are completely separated. So whenever you run them through the die cut machine, you will get two separate pieces. And then here is the die for the circle. And then the sentiment is this smaller die here. Of course, you could go with the larger one, but this is the smaller one. And the congratulations fits on there just perfectly. So I'm going to color these here. And I'm going to use some Stampin' Blends alcohol markers.
Can Dad make my Jenny?
You sure can. Just one moment, I'll be right back.
I know, Mama.
You can have a breakfast sandwich. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to color these images, and then we're going to get to the really fun part where we use this die here. I thought it would be nice to do some classic nautical colors. Have a little bit of blue. with a tint of red and some yellows. Normally I would color these images before I die cut them, but I thought it would save some time today if I could get them die cut ahead of time. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a deeper shade on one side of the sun, just to give it some interest. And if I wanted to make that line not be as solid, then that's when I could come with the color lifter and just move that solid line just a little bit, and it'll soften it up a bit. So the color lifter is a really great tool for coloring. Now I want to color this, those little sailboats. They're so pretty. And I'm going to use the fine tip. And I'm not going to color them solid because I want it to have a little bit more of a white look. But I do want to add the hint of color. So I'm adding just a very thin line of blue around the edge. And I'll do that over here as well. On all sides of the sail, and then I'm leaving these little horizontal lines so that I can make them red. If you have any questions along the way, then please feel free to ask in the comments. So here is that really, really thin red line. The reason I really wanted to do these, the coloring in this way, is because the lines in the stamp are drawn a little bit more artistic. So I think that just having the color not be solid anywhere really helps lend to that artistic look. And this is the light smoky slate that I'm going to color the bottom part of the boats, just to give it some grounding. And then I can go right next to this blue, just to differentiate this sailboat away from the other two. And then I'm going to add this part into the shadow area here. And then use the color lifter to kind of push the color around and lighten it up a bit. It'll blend it out. See, it's like magic. And it just automatically changes. There you go, just like magic. So I'm gonna set these images aside. Let's get this out of the way. And I have already die cut. Sorry about that. I think we're still recording. I have already die cut a panel, and I went 2 times with this die. So I noticed, this is the back side and this is the front. One of the things I noticed right off the bat is that it didn't take away those lines. They are cut through, but it didn't push them out. So I'm wondering what can be done with these lines. This, you know, certainly they're intact for a reason. Murphy's Law didn't make them stay in place just for no reason at all. That's what I'm thinking. So the Big Shot die brush will come in handy here to push them all away. I would have taken them all out ahead of time, but I wanted you to be able to see what it looked like and get a first-hand look at what kind of results you can expect. So as I remove these, then I'm thinking about what kind of a color is going to show through. Like, what kind of a background to this is really going to make the most impact? Or do I want something to be just a little subtle? There's a lot of different possibilities. So the two cards that I already created with the Lilypad Lake are, one is very white and the other one is about as colorful as I could expect to have it be. So this one is going to be kind of an in-between area. And I'm going to get as much of these little things out as possible. I'm sure you guys can hear the kids. They are home from school, of course, and there are people arriving downstairs. Both of my kids have special needs, and their therapists come in at different parts of the day, and we have just had both therapists arrive. And so my kids are really excited whenever visitors come, and they're really excited whenever their therapists come, because they're ready to interact with them and have a really good time. So I am going to have to probably do a little bit of cutting on these lines to get them off, because it looks like it didn't cut all the way through in a few places. This is a really detailed die. There we go. It's not so bad. And it depends on how many times you're going to be cutting it through. Anne-Marie, you're very sweet. And I'm very gracious to have your understanding. My boys, especially the oldest one, is the one who came in here demanding his dinner. They have their routines that whenever I am deviating from their routines, then it's not very easy for them. And I had 3 meetings today. That's a lot in one day, but I had 3 meetings today that I had to attend that were for the children's education. And so my video is late. But I'm still here and I'm still doing it. And I'm thankful that my husband is able to take care of the squirrels for the time being. Okay, so now that I have this all cut away, let's see what it looks like on Tranquil Textures #1. So I would adhere this directly down to the piece of paper, no dimensionals in between. And have a look. What do you think? I like it. I think it very much looks like lake water. This is what it looks like without. So it's kind of drawn in the same way as the die is. I really like it. It's not what I'm going to end up using, but I do like it. And here is the soft seafoam. So if we were to use that, then I can see the seafoam green right through there. That's lovely. I really like how it peeks through. Okay, so that's one. And we shall now look at the Eastern Palace. And wow. Look at how the colors just like pop right through there. And because it's not a solid color and the lines of the die are in constant motion, then it doesn't look like polka dots anymore. Let's have a good look at this again. It does not look like polka dots whatsoever. I'm gonna make sure you can see it. That's the coolest. So cool. And I would not use this backside because I just don't think that would go through. Nope. All right, so now this is the piece of paper that I wanted to really try out. And here is the bubbles, which is cool, but not what I'm going to use today. This is the one. I know it looks a little bit more plain, but when put together with this, I think it gives just the right look of a medium blue ocean with the waves breaking. And then we're going to add these items up here to get a fun look to the card. So I'm really excited. Now, one thing I can think of to do about all these little lines that have the little tiny pieces of of paper that didn't cut away, the Big Shot die brush is not going to help me with these lines at all. I usually use an emery board. I know, as simple as it is. Emery prefers the first or the last one. Yep. I use an emery board to kind of go over those little pieces of paper, or sometimes like this, just the cutting edge of my scissor. Let's see how one of those goes. And it smooths it right out. And then I could do that here to a couple of different places, and it's going to smooth it right out. Now this is a die that would benefit from using the Sizzix adhesive back sheets. Had to get the name for just a minute. But I'm going to use a mixture of snail adhesive and liquid glue for this project today. I'm going to use some snail adhesive around the edges. And I really like how Stampin' Up! Gave enough room on all four sides of the die to be able to have it be stable. Okay, so that goes all the way around, and then I'm going to use some of this liquid glue to dot in between on those little wavy lines. Oops. Well, how about if I just do this, since I already got it out, and go right across those lines. Not every one of them is going to need this, but especially around the edges, I think it would be more beneficial. And then right in the middle on some of those larger wave pieces, it would work out really well. Me and liquid glue, love-hate relationship. Okay. So we're going to take this unit here, and I do have a good amount of yuckiness on my work surface now. So I'm going to cover it up with this piece, just so we don't spread the glue. And now I will adhere this. I did cut this a little smaller, 1/8 of an inch smaller than my panel here, which is 4 inches by 5 1/4. Okay, so I'm just going to give it some pressure, and it looks like it's going to hold down just well enough. Great. Okay. I have a card base that is thick Whisper White cardstock, and it's top folding. It's an 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to put this panel on with a few dimensionals, and then we'll use some more dimensionals on our items that we're going to add. Who has got the brand new stamp pads, and what's your favorite color? I'd love to hear. So I'm going to take all these little dimensionals. I use the mini ones just because that's what I had on my table. I do have a silicone mat, Marcy, but I wasn't planning on the liquid glue. The liquid glue is, like I said, love-hate relationship. And you do some great things with your silicone mat. I learned a lot from you, and I appreciate all of your tips. Okay, so here's what it looks like, and this is the Tranquil Textures Designer Series paper peeking through the lakefront die. So let's add some objects. We can get our pretty sun. Okay, how about this guy over here? And these guys over here. We do want them to hang out together. And then I have the sentiment for the bottom. So I'll use some more of those little mini dimensionals. So this is a very basic and simple card. Put the big sailboats smaller or put them down lower. I can do that. Anne Marie is liking Grapefruit Grove. I am too, Anne Marie. I am too. Grapefruit Grove is going to be a fun color. And I've just gotten my stamp pads in, so that mango color, I have it in my hands now, so I'm going to be using it. Really excited. Okay, so the bottom ones, how about like that? There we go. All right, so the big ones, the big boats, I'm going to add dimensionals, and the small boats, I'm not. Just to kind of give them the look of being a lot closer. And this guy, you could use liquid glue or mini glue dots or snail. Snail is my favorite, it's also with mini glue dots. Okay. Oh, and this is so funny I'm making this because I just watched a very small portion of the movie Jaws yesterday. And that movie was very scary for me when I was a kid. And I always associate, you know, those sailboats with, I think it was one of the other Jaws movies. It was the original Jaws that I saw a part of yesterday. Okay, we'll get this. Nope, I like it here. And that is good enough for me. So this is a very good masculine card idea. You could swap out some colors and have this be feminine. You could have it, you could add all kinds of little things to it. Let me get those little sea of texture thingies. I found them. My last video, I was looking for them and couldn't find them anywhere. But I have since then located them. And they were in like the least expected place ever. Isn't that the way it always goes? All right, so this is Tranquil Textures Sprinkles. And what they are is just a bunch of seed beads. So I can take my scissors, or if you have some tweezers, just a little piece. It kind of looks like sea glass. Some of them don't have holes. They're just like little drops. I'm gonna see if I can get a hold of one. Okay, just like a couple of little sparkly places. My fingers still have the glue on them, so I'm trying to avoid getting them all sticky with this. But these little beads are just genius. I love them. All right, so I think this is going to be a little too high because this bead is pretty big compared to the other ones. So I would probably just put it down a little bit here, and I'll use a little bit of liquid glue and my paper piercing tool. Oh, look at this fun one here. We've got a blue one here, so we'll have to use that too. So this is my paper piercing tool with just a mini glue dot on the end that has been used many different times. And if I find that it's not getting as sticky as it should be, then I kind of move around the glue dot with my fingernails and it makes it sticky again. But I don't use the glue dot like the moment that it's put on the end. I make sure that I take a little bit of the stickiness off with my fingertips. So this fun one, how about if I put it down here? That way it really helps to draw the eye down to the bottom of the card. There we go. So these little beads are very fun. Of course, they can be strung on a very thin piece of thread, but there's so many interesting pieces in here that are flat that can go. You can use a shaker for these, or just about anything as we're doing here today. So this card looks even more of like a nautical masculine card to me with these beads on. And this is pretty much what I expected the card to look like. I like how the colors, I'm trying to put this back on, there we go. I coordinated the marker colors to be able to go with that piece of Designer Series paper. And the Designer Series paper also has these little white speckles in them, and it helps to offset how my paper still had some of the little paper fibers stuck together. And I like that. I like how it has helped me out a little bit and given me some camouflage. It's pretty cool. What do you guys think? I'm liking that. So let's finish off the inside of the card with, I've got a spare piece of paper here. I am worried about these little beads. They're not dry yet, so I'll tell you what I'm gonna do is I'm going to stamp the little sailboats, and since I've got it out, I'm gonna use the Marina Mist. Just put those little sailboats at the bottom. And then add this to the inside of the card. Now I want to mention that all of the products that I'm using are available now, or they're going to be available in my online store on June the 1st. But if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you would like to have a catalog that has all these new beautiful goodies in it, then please leave me a comment or send me an email at jennystampsup@gmail.com, and I will be sure to get a catalog to you. If you're a current customer of mine and you've placed an order within the last 6 months, you will have a catalog headed your way. Don't you worry about that. And that sets the card. That's finished. I will make sure that when I mail this to put an extra piece of cardstock on top. That way these little beads don't poke through the envelope. So this would be one way to get the card safely where it's going and not have the beads come off either, because a piece of cardstock secured on the front of it is going to keep everything right in place. Oh, I'm glad you guys like it. Oh, hi, Ann. I'm so glad. And this is one of the 3 cards that I'm featuring this week on my YouTube channel and on my blog. My blog address is jennystampsup.com. Of course, this is our card today. This is the card that's on my blog right now, and today is Thursday the 10th. So if you're looking on YouTube or looking on my blog, you can search for the 10th. This is made with a technique, and this is glossy white paper. And this is regular cardstock, and everything is gold and white. So if you have any questions, then please feel free to let me know. Oh, I also wanted to mention that I have brand new tutorials that have been uploaded on my blog. So if you go to my blog at jennystampsup.com, click on online classes and tutorials, it'll give you a full listing of all the classes that I have available. And there's 3 ways that you can get my tutorials. The first way is you can get them for free as being one of my team members. Every single tutorial that I create or am a part of, my team members get it for free. That's one of the perks of being a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and being on my team. So any videos that are exclusive or any tutorials, they get them automatically for free. And the second way that you can get the tutorials is by purchasing the product. So if I have let's say the newest one is Sunshine and Rainbows. If you purchase the Sunshine and Rainbows bundle from my online Stampin' Up! Store in the United States, then you can get the tutorial for Sunshine and Rainbows for free. I'll send it to you. The third way is that if you are a demonstrator or you already have a demonstrator and you just want to get a hold of one of my tutorials, then you can purchase them outright directly from the blog. And the way that happens is you go scroll down the page and find all the tutorials, one or more than one that you're interested in, and you click it Add to Cart. Then whenever you check out, you'll receive an email and it will have a download link for all of the tutorials that you selected. And you download it and the PDF is there and the video links are in the PDF if it includes a video. Very easy to do, and it's available worldwide to anyone that wants to purchase it. So my online store for Stampin' Up! Is only to United States residents, but my tutorials can be purchased by anyone, anywhere around the world. So if you have any questions about this card or some of the other ones, then feel free to let me know. I'll be happy to help you out. I'm so glad that you like them, Sandy. I like this card too. I had this card in mind the very first time that I laid eyes on the Lilypad Lake stamp set. When I saw these images and saw that there were framelits for some of these items, I thought, wow. And since I grew up in the South, then I have images that are implanted in my mind of sunsets with the black silhouettes in the front. And I don't see that so much here in the Northeast, which is where I live now, in the Northeast United States. But I do remember in the South, the beautiful sunsets in Texas and around the Gulf of Mexico region. And all of the images in front of those sunsets were always either very, very dark or black with hardly any detail to them at all. So that was the inspiration for this card here. And be sure to check out the video tutorial if you like that one. And subscribe to my YouTube channel too, and that way you'll know all of the new videos that I'm able to share with you all. And I'm happy to do so. I'm happy to share what I love. That's what it's all about. So if you guys have any questions, then feel free to contact me. If you'd like to join my team, I would love to have you, and feel free to contact me, or just go to my blog and click on Join My Team. My blog address is www.jennystampsup.com. So thanks for joining me today on Facebook, and if you're watching on YouTube on the replay, thanks for watching my YouTube video. I really appreciate your support. So you guys take care, and I'll see you next week on this Facebook business page or on YouTube. Bye-bye.